went to the shop to do shopping with his mother, and she said to my mother, "I'm not very happy about your daughter. She's chasing my son, and they're too young." So I was going to the library that particular night. I said, "Mom, I'm going to the library," and she said, "No, you can go on Saturday afternoons from now on because they're open Saturday afternoons too. Why should you have to go on Friday night?" I said, "Why? Why can't I go now? I want to go now." She said, "No."
Of course, Bernard is at school.
And then she said, "I've had a complaint about you. Mrs. Vandenberg is complaining that you're chasing Bernard after the school and you're riding home together and that's not allowed." So that was it.
How old were you?
Oh, how old were you at the school? 16?
17,
16,
18.
17?
So when you were married later on, how old did you get on with Mrs. Vandenberg then?
Oh, well, very well.
Oh, okay. So she never regretted you.
No,
She
no,
thought
no.
at the time, but she was probably a bit bluesy-ish because she was chasing her son.
We were too young, they said.
And I had to go to school 4 nights a week and
it
work.
takes him off his
You
studies.
went to school on Monday night. You went to school on Tuesday night. On Wednesday night you did homework what they're giving you on Monday and Tuesday. So you're still... Thursday you went to school again. Friday you went to school
I went
again.
to the library.
And the weekend you did... Yeah. And yeah.
And what did you do during the day?
Work in the bakery.
Oh, okay.
And the kids use it. But
And I used to
because
ride past that bakery, see
in
if
Holland
walking
it is
around
so-
with a couple of trays.
With his buns. You met through,
Lived in the same neighbourhood.
lived in the same neighbourhood, and John brought over your dad brought over some boys.
To do some singing and practice singing, and I had to play the piano.
Oh.
And they were standing behind me, and he sort of...
I was the only one.
No, you were with a couple of boys.
No.
Oh, you came once.
I had to do a solo, and I didn't know
Oh, well,
the
I thought
music,
there were a few more boys, but-
and he said, "Come up to the house, and we'll teach you
practice,
the part.
have a practice,
You
because
have to
my
sing it
father
on
was the
your own."
choir man as well.
So you fell in love with that voice.
And then I come there, and it is her who's playing the piano for the music what I have to follow.
And so do you remember how old you were then when you first met him?
15, I think.
In 1956, January 56, we got married and went to Australia. After 2 days, we went to Australia. So we were married for 1 year, and they said there was going to be a present for us. And you know what the present was? A telephone call from Holland to Dalby, and it was mentioned in the Dalby Herald, because it was something
But
very
we never
special.
kept that paper, because I can't remember it, but he says so.
So why did you come to Australia then?
We want to get married and you couldn't get a house.
The homes, there was practically nothing standing up anymore, especially in the big cities. It was all bombed.
bombed it all.
And the
Everything was
rebuilding,
wrecked, the railway was
the
wrecked, everything was
rebuilding
wrecked.
program, there were lots and lots of people working there, tradespeople,
Yeah.
because Marie's brother was in there, Ari, and Adrian, and 1945 to 1956 is only 11 years, and in 11 years you can't just build whole suburbs. It went slowly. Plus, if you felt
You
like
couldn't get the
getting married,
material.
you were getting onto a list from the council in that particular town. You were on a waiting list, and your name was there, and it didn't matter if his father had his own homes. He had 2 or 3 houses that he owned. He wasn't allowed to rent them out to us because they were on a list too.
Yeah.
So if he wanted to have renters in there, he had to have somebody from that waiting list. And we were on the bottom of the list, so we had to wait and wait and wait
So
and
it
wait.
would mean that people what had a bit of money would be always well off, and the
And get
poor
houses.
people would never get a house. And so we went on that list. Even though my dad said, "Oh, you can go and live in my house," no, he couldn't. I was in the army and I had a sergeant and I heard something on the grapevine that my dad was trying to get me out of the army because of his handicap, that he lost a son so many years in Indonesia and got hurt and got him home, and he's gone off to Australia. So he needs
Someone to help him run the business.
in the business. So they granted that to me, and I heard something about it, that it was happening and that they had the right connections in The Hague, where the big government is, and the sergeant I used to hate a bit, and I used to say to him, you can't push me around much longer because I'm leaving. He said, you won't be leaving, mate, you won't be leaving, I'll get you. Anyhow, soon came a telegram that I was on a what do you call it, in the morning, the whole troops all
like a parade.
on
call.
Yeah.
Yes, and they read out things like that, what happened.
Like announcements.
And Soldier Bernard Vandenberg, you got to come to the office. And I thought, oh God.
What have I done?
And I looked at the sergeant. And
Oh, you had an idea. Oh, yeah.
I knew they were working on. I went to the office and I said, you can pick up your stuff and goodbye, thanks for being here.
Ah,
And I could go home.
wow.
Yeah.
When you guys came to Australia to Waco,
Gleason had a job for that.
yeah,
And it was over the creek,
yeah,
that filthy bakery.
Yeah,
and Dad,
and so-
Dad went there in the morning and switched the light on. There was a gun there. He had to kill the rats first.
Oh,
yeah.
That first bakery,
Yeah.
you were there only 3 weeks, eh? You
Yeah.
couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
anymore.
But he left Mum in Waco, and then he
So
got
was
on the
Waco
train.
like a...
Yeah, but Jack
Centre.
French wanted me.
No, hang on.
No, wait.
You're jumping ahead of yourself.
Yeah, ga
in
zitten.
Waco was like a migrant camp, but it was all these little tin huts,
Yeah.
and they slept on beds that were wire beds,
Creak, creak,
and they
creak.
and just had
Single beds.
an old mattress on them, and then they were at this Waco migrant centre, and then Dad needed to go to Dalby to look at this job, and they didn't. Did you have to pay for the train? Yeah, you had to get on the train and go to Dalby, and then see if the job was going to be okay, or if he'd had a job. He went for an interview, and then he went back on the train to Waco and got Mum, and then they packed their couple of suitcases.
And we walked to go to the station.
Yeah.
But first we had a truck to Toowoomba.
That's right.
We
But
found
did
a
they
truck.
let you out of Waco only with the prospect of a job?
Yes.
You couldn't just
Yes.
leave?
No,
No.
you couldn't leave. You were there because your paper said you were there. Some people stayed
Because
there
you
for
were
2
from
years.
another country.
Yeah.
Some people stayed there for 2 years with their children and let the husband go to his
Some
job.
people liked it to stay
Yeah.
there.
But
Really?
but
Yeah, so then you... Yeah, I
there were
interrupted.
toilets in the Waco camp, big corrugated iron things, and one side was for the women and one was for the men. And I went to this toilet and there was all this wood there, and there was this big frog sitting there. But I thought it was a toy because I'd never
Frog
seen
story.
a big frog like that.
Now
and
we
I
get the
thought,
frog
oh,
Be quiet.
kids have left their toy behind, and it moved. And I dressed myself, raced back to the hut, and I said to Dad, there's big giant.
Frogs.
Great big green frogs.
Oh, no.
And the
Yeah,
thing
the
moved. And I touched it. I was going to pick it up because I thought it was a toy.
Sometimes Mum, if you kiss them, they turn into princes.
But I already had a prince.
But when they went on this, they went to get from Waco to Dalby, like Mum said, they went on this cattle truck.
No,
Yeah, it was a
a-
sort of a big
A
old-
mainline utility, Ford mainline utility.
No, Dad.
Yes,
We
yes.
went on a truck with
First.
different people
First,
to go to Toowoomba.
Yes,
And we had to go over that range, and I was sitting there,
in a mainline utility.
and I thought, oh my God, we're gonna tip.
it
So
was really
they dropped us
steep.
off. They dropped us off in Toowoomba, And I said to Dad,
Never again, she says.
from now on, we're going on a train. I said, I'm not going to have any more trucks or things. So we looked, we walked there with our ports, and the big case from the boat was still going to be sent to Dalby.
Yeah.
We hadn't had that yet. So we were walking along to find the railway station. And this beautiful car stops, brand new. And this guy says, where are you off to? I said, oh, we want to find the railway station because we got to go to Dalby. Dalby, he said. I said, yes, 9 Nicholson Street. That's, I knew John's address. He said, well, fancy that. I have to deliver this car to Dalby. Hop in. In the front. He didn't let us sit in the back.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the middle. There was in those days
Bench
there were
seat,
always
bench seat.
bench
And
seats.
this is all in English.
In the
You can
middle,
speak English.
and he
yeah.
was there. Dad was sitting on the other side. He tried to speak to us and was a very nice man. I
Yeah.
wish I knew
Yeah,
who he
very
was.
quiet sort of
But
fella.
when we were driving there, you know, all those above
Power lines.
power lines in Holland, they're underneath the ground.
Oh.
And I thought, gee, you got a lot of birds here. There's a bird on every pole. But they were those things, you know, those light fittings. And I kept seeing another one. Because
you think
he
they
didn't,
were?
he didn't drive that fast.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and you saw all those things. Oh, I said to Dad, look at all those birds.
Like the waving signposts. Were you eating salmon? Smoked salmon?
But I'll bet you thought that road was flat.
Yes.
Because you hadn't seen land like that.
No.
No.
But he dropped us off right in front of John's house.
Yeah.
But I
And
tell you
John-
what,
And John looked and he thought, he couldn't believe it that we walked out there,
Yeah.
out of the car.
So the car was very not. You wouldn't come across a car in the like at that
There
time.
was cars, but this car was so nice. It was flash for that time,
Oh,
and it was
okay.
new.
A
And
new
there
one.
was
Had to
still
deliver it
there
to
was-
Dalby.
There was cars.
a brand new car he had
But
to
there
deliver
was-
to Dolby.
There was cars, but
But
not
I tell you
everybody
what,
had one.
I had sore knees,
1956.
Yes, because the sun.
sunburned on my knees and I had
Oh,
shorts.
did it have a roof?
Huh?
Did it have
No,
a
it
roof?
didn't have that sunroof yet, you know.
No,
The
the
sun was
front
just
window.
Oh,
on
the
top
front
of you.
window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did he know which house to go to? You'd
Well,
never
we
been to
told him
Dalby.
9 Nicholson Street and he
9
knew where
Nicholson
Nicholson
Street,
Street
He
yeah.
was.
must have used his GPS.
Just put that
You
in
know.
my GPS.
Those days.
But he could have been a serial killer, and he could have been a serial killer. I mean,
you-
back then you didn't.
If you
But when
talk-
he's pulled up beside you to say, where are you going, was there lots of people walking that got off that
No, but
cattle
you
truck?
couldn't walk in Australia. Even when you walk to the bakery, somebody stops and say, "You want? Where you're going? Oh, got to go to Jack Francis Bakery. Oh, yeah, hop in."
Oh, really?
Everybody
I
used
was-
to pick everybody up.
Everybody
that
picked up everybody.
I was
It was
walking.
an amazing country.
I
Everybody
was walking
honest.
too.
Everyone was honest.
Yeah.
What happened? The Dutch came.
Maakt het all up.
And that fellow on the corner of our street in Horror Street, Hunter Firmer. I never forget his name. Hunter Firmer. And he had a taxi business. And we often had to use him. You know, we had no transport. So we were in a taxi once with him. And he turns around, he said, how come you guys can speak English? Because we tried to
Yeah.
tell him where we had to go. And I said, we learned it at school. You know, with our English.
But they mostly walked everywhere in Dalby with me in the pram.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dad would walk to work from Horace Street to the
And then he
bakery.
bought us a little second-hand bike.
Yeah, and then he had a bike, and then Mum would just take me in the pram, and me and Renee in the pram, and walk down the street and buy some groceries and walk back. And they walked all the way from Horace Street to the
And
Catholic
Joanne knew
church, which
and
was fair
Joanne
way.
knew the milk bar on the main street in
Yeah.
Dalby where they sold chocolates, and she used to say why
Because she
why?
couldn't say chocolate, she said why. And
I don't
we
know
walked
why.
past that, and she had, once I bought her a chocolate there, and every time we walked past she was sitting in the pram and I was lying down. Dad made this little plank thing, and I put a bit of a nice cloth around it, so she sat there and hung on to the handlebars of the pram, and she'd look around. Why, mummy, why?
So
Always
they should
pointed
never
to
have introduced me to chocolate. I would have been right.
Yeah. Decided to go to Australia on the ship. Was the ship, did you have to put your name down and say you were interested? Like, was the ship filling up with people where there
No,
was...
we applied to go to Australia, and then we got word whenever that the trip was planned for, and we married 2 days before the ship was to leave.
Really?
Yeah.
We married on the 9th and the ship was sailing on the 11th
Oh, wow. Of
So-
January.
January.
of January. So we had 2 nights in a hotel in Amersfoort near the station, near the
Yeah.
railway station, and it was called the Metropole.
Yeah.
And my brother said to me, Ada, where are you and Bernard going to spend your wedding night? I said, you know that little boarding house we used to walk past when we went to school, and it was a little boarding house, and it was a bit of a joint, and they had a hole in the window, and somebody put a little glass plate behind it, and my girlfriend and I said, I wonder what happens if you put your finger in that hole, and we did, and the glass plate fell back and we ran away.
Oh.
But I said, oh, we're going to stay, in that little thing in Hella Street. He said, you're not there? I said, no. I said, don't, we're not telling you because you're going to play jokes on us.
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
didn't tell him. But then after the first day, we said we were in the Metropole, across the road from the railway station. It was a big hotel.
Yeah, was it nice?
Yeah, it was a nice
Yeah.
hotel. It was a
Hotel Metropole,
But
opposite the railway
they had
station.
central heating, and it was so hot in that bedroom, we didn't know how to turn the
Turn
thing
it
down.
down. Oh. So then you left on the 11th. Then where did you say you left from? Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
Can you still hear
And you said something about the
a little bit? We can
boat
turn it off for
was
a while.
not, the ship wasn't at sea level.
Hmm?
What were you saying about the ship having to be filled with...
No, when we went on the ship, it goes for a little while, and it is a canal, and then it has to go into the full sea. But before it goes into the open sea, it had to go through a dock,
A lock.
A lock, they call it. The water goes up, the ship goes in, and
They can control the level of the sea.
and the ship comes up.
They can't control the level of the sea, but they control the where the boat goes, and it can sail into the open ocean.
Open
Because
ocean.
the harbour is lower than the ocean in Holland.
don't think I know that.
There is a
So
there
there's
is,
Markermeer.
there is
Holland
a
is
there is
below
a
sea
there is a
level.
mark at some place, and it says sea level, and you think by yourself, we're all going to drown here.
And the first night when we were on the ship, we were still in that canal,
Yeah.
and the ship didn't sort of
move much.
move. And as soon as we hit open sea, you could feel it, because you could. And that's when he became seasick. The first couple of nights.
So
And
you
we
went through
into
this channel
That's the North Sea.
out
Yeah.
there.
the
Yeah.
Atlantic Ocean there.
Did you go through the English Channel then?
Yes.
And around here? And
Yeah.
you went into the Bay of Biscay?
Yes.
Bay of Biscay, we were
And
there
then
for
we
3
went around
Around
Portugal,
Spain?
and then through the the Bay of Gibraltar, and then into there, and then here is the
Aden.
I have to zoom
Suez
in.
Canal
I
somewhere
have
there.
to zoom
Remember?
in to look for
The Suez-
Egypt.
yeah, and Suez Canal. We arrived in Australia on the 12th of February, and we went on the ship on the,
On the 11th,
11th of January.
11th of January.
that's 20 days.
20 plus 12, it's 32 days.
That's 5 weeks.
Yeah, five weeks and a bit, not 6 weeks.
So did you have many belongings? Did they put them all in a big...
Yeah, a big.
You were entitled for 2 people to make a box, and we got it made by a carpenter, and
all your
you
stuff
could
went
fit
in
a,
there.
a double bed in it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
The size of a double bed could fit in the box, and that now took up so much room, and then
Yeah.
on top of that we could
Take
put
all
all,
the
and so the
luggage.
box was about that high.
Oh, at least.
So you had the bed, and then all the little things what you put on top of the bed, and then the lid went on it, and it was sealed, and that was
And it
on the
arrived
ship.
in Uncle John's
And
yard.
then it came, after a couple of weeks we were already in Dalby, and then a big truck came with a crane and
Put that box in the
they
backyard.
put the box off the truck into
John's backyard.
John's front yard.
On the
And
side
how many
there.
people did they do that for? How many people were on the ship?
Everybody. There was
Everybody.
there were
So huge
1,400
ship.
passengers and 400 crew, wasn't it? 1,800 people on board.
No, we had 1,800 migrants and we had 600 staff.
Oh,
Wow.
And the
And
staff
all your
was-
meals were paid for, and you just
they,
Yeah,
turned up.
and we
everything.
had the sitting at the table, and we had the early sitting and the late sitting, but we were always at the same table with the same people.
The same
And
waiter.
And
and
the
we
same
still got
waiter.
a menu that the people that signed it, that were on the boat, they all signed the menu when we left.
But did you got to choose what you ate every night, or
Mostly
No.
smoked salmon.
Yeah, you got the big
You got a menu, but
menu, and you could pick from that. There was a couple of things you
so there
could
was
take.
chefs and
And then-
cleaners and
we always had the same person that came to our table.
And there was a family on board, but we didn't know the people. They had 5 children, and they came to Australia, mom and dad and the 5 kids. And one of them,
The eldest, Joseph,
Joseph Oudeman, he became a bishop.
he became the auxiliary bishop in Brisbane.
But he was only a boy, and he said to his parents, when I get to Australia, I want to carry on studying because I want to become a priest. And he became a priest in Australia. And he visited all the Dutch migrants around, and he kept studying and things like that. Later on, he became auxiliary bishop of Brisbane. And he just retired just recently, and he
But
used to
he-
visit us.
But he came to visit us for the first time in Bethania, and he was still a priest. He was the migrant priest. He visited the migrants, the Dutch migrants. And he was sitting there in the lounge, and he said, "What year did you come?" And we said, "In 1956. He said, "So did I." He said, "What ship?" We said the name of the ship and the month. He said, "I was on that ship." And I'll show you the photo of him
what's the
with
name
Paul.
of the ship?
Johan van Oldenbarneveld.
And you can see it here.
That's Uncle Paul.
Bishop Joseph Oudeman, pictured above with Paul Vandenberg. Yes, there is a Dutch connection, very much so. Paul's parents, Bernard and Ada, are well known by the bishop. When still a parish priest, he visited many Dutch migrants in this area and did much spiritual work for his Dutch flock. At our first introduction to the bishop, he asked us, that was us, "When did you arrive in Australia?" When we told him 1956, he answered, "I came in the same year." On which ship? And here's the name of the ship. And same name, MS Johan van Oldenbarneveld. As it turned out, the bishop, as a young lad with his parents and 4 younger siblings, had travelled all the way with Paul's newly married parents, unbeknown that we would meet in the 90s, after which time Joseph studied, became a priest, was then ordained a bishop. We had the privilege to be invited to this wonderful event at St. Stephen's Cathedral, because we went there when he was made a bishop. Paul is the middle son of Bernard and Ada Vandenberg, and has also 3 sisters and 2 brothers. The friendship with Bishop Oudeman is still very much alive. He always keeps in touch with the migrants, and this is Paul with him.
Yeah,
I
that's
said to Paul-
amazing, isn't it?
Wow, that is a massive ship. That's like a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Are these all
And
pictures of
in the war it was used as a troop ship. We were lucky on our
Okay,
trip.
that's a long story.
There was
Yeah, that is that.
talk somebody
That's
about
a long.
on that trip. There was twice in the
The
royal family
family.
in Holland a birthday, and all the lights went out in the ship, and they had those big staircases, and all these cooks in all their
carry those-
uniforms
carry
came out with all these nice tarts or cakes or whatever you had.
Flamboyant, you know the.
yeah.
And they came all down the long staircases. Oh, it was unbelievable.
So that says 1958. When
Yeah, and that
but
was
you's
the
come
last
over
trip
in 1956.
because it was sold to a Greek company, and the first trip they made with the Greek company, they called it the
Laconia.
Laconia, and it became had an accident between here and New Zealand.
Oh,
And the
really?
ship was wrecked.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it burned, but I think it might have been an insurance job. You know what I did with the bishop when I knew that he had been on the ship? Said, would you like a menu of the boat? You know that they had those beautiful menus with all the meals on it and
Yeah.
everything for the particular day. And he said, have you got one? I said, yes,
We
I
had
got
two.
some. We had
We had
two.
two.
And I said, I'll give you one. He was so happy with that.
Oh, really?
But
Was
we,
it different every day?
Yes.
Like the food?
Yeah, but we took the last one with us. Or one of them anyway.
Wow.
Or two we took with us.
Did it get very rough?
Oh
Yes.
yes. In the rough was in the Gulf of
Gulf
Biscay.
of Biscay.
A lot of people got seasick.
Yeah.
It was like the front of the ship went down and the back went up.
Oh, really?
And when you looked,
No, on the side of the
And then the
ship, you
sides-
see the sky,
Oh,
and
yes.
you don't see sea, and there you saw only water on that
Yes.
side because it goes like this.
Yeah, we saw that on our cruise out the window,
Yeah.
and you would see just the sky, and then you'd see the
Yeah,
sea. And,
and we were not allowed to go on deck because you could fall off, so you had to be indoors
Oh, when it was rough.
when it was rough.
Oh, okay.
And we had every day we had a violinist and some people that used to play.
like
every
on the
night
Titanic
dances.
when it went down.
They used to play classical music, and that violinist, because I liked one piece of music so much, and he knew, and he always came to stand near me and played it in my ear, and he was such a nice guy.
The canary.
And another, and on the hot canary it was
The
called.
hot canary.
Dee, dee, da-da-da-da-da, pum, 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 beep, beep. And he did it on his violin, so beautiful. And on the next trip, he was playing the violin, and the ship made a sudden move, and he was thrown against the organ, and he was killed.
Oh,
That
really?
violinist, on the ship.
yeah,
on
but
that
he
trip?
was
Not on our trip, but on the same ship.
the
on
piano
another
killed
trip.
him.
Yeah,
fair dinkum.
he fell up against the piano, or the piano moved and squashed him, something like that.
Because it was so rocky.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and he
Something
was such
matter
a
wrong.
nice guy.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah,
And there was, and he was, what do you call it, buried at sea?
buried at sea. Yeah,
Oh, true.
Yeah.
So he
There
got
was-
off the ship,
yeah. But
wrapped
who-
up and...
They have a special thing
Yeah.
there
for
was
it.
somebody else that died on board, and he was buried at sea, and we were there. He was a purser. He had a heart attack.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
they-
we seen that, and that was a slide, and it just, and the body is wrapped up.
In white. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen it on movies.
because they couldn't take
Terrible.
him with them because
No.
of the weather.
Yeah.
So he was buried at sea. Yeah,
Oh,
they just
wow.
let the body go into the sea.
Yeah. It's not like they're going to keep it on board because it'll stink. Yeah.
They had no provisions
Unless
for
you
that.
freeze them.
Yeah, well, you needed your food in the freezer.
You sneaky hamburger.
When we arrived,
In
We
Melbourne, you went and visited your friends from Paddy's.
Bakery.
that was in Victoria, in the Dandenongs. We went there on the train, and Henk was waiting. He was a railway master.
Yeah, that was
Station
not the baker
master,
yet.
and
It was a
he-
brother of him,
Yeah, the brother
of
of
the
Henk.
bakers. Yeah.
Henk and Shaan, the Roy.
He used to be my school teacher when I
He
was
was
a
a
little
school
boy.
teacher at my father's school too. Henk Reis.
And he came to Australia and he started to work he became a station master in that little place
What
in
is it called?
Victoria.
Lilydale.
Huh?
Lilydale.
In Lilydale. And then his brother came out with his wife. They sold the bakery in Holland. And he came out and they had
5 boys, and they had
five
another
boys,
boy
and
in
she was
Australia.
expecting the 6th one. They got 6 boys. And they were working in Australia, and he was just working in a bakery, and he was a very good baker. And then he had a heart attack, and they thought he was going to die. He was 6 months in hospital, and he recovered. And he started up again, and they were completely broke because the church kept them going, because there was no wages, there was no nothing in those days. And he started up again in that same bakery where he was working. He went to see the fellow. He said, "Is it all right if I come back at work?" And he went. He said, "Yes, please come." And he started to work there again. And then the boss told him, he said, "I like to sell this business, but nobody is interested." He said, "I am." And the boss says, "Yes, I realize that, but he said, "But I haven't got a razoo, I haven't got a penny." And the boss says, "Well, I'll sell it to you and you pay it off to me." And that's how they started, right from the beginning. And now they got the biggest bakery in Victoria, in Australia.
Yeah.
300 men were working there when we visited.
Wow.
Huge.
That's incredible.
But
So
they're
what-
all over Australia with patties,
So what
pies.
next?
So then you came to Dolby.
Yeah.
And what did you do for work? You got a job with
Bakery.
John in that bakery.
In the bakery.
It's Jack
And it was
French.
Jack French.
But
Jack
for the
French's
first
bakery.
bakery, he
North
was only
Street.
3 weeks.
And then what did you do after that?
Went to a bakery in North Queensland because the bloke from the flour mill came to see me and he said, "Would you mind going to North Queensland?" And I said, "Well, why should I go there?" He said, "Because there is a bloke there waiting for somebody to work for him. The man has never had a holiday because he's always working, doesn't get a chance to get away." And he said, "You'll be the right person for him to have." And he said, "Yeah, pays you £10 a week more than you get here."
Oh, true.
So that's why we went to Collinsville.
Oh, not Bowen
Not
yet.
Bowen yet, no.
No,
Collinsville
it,
first
it
for
was
11
like
years.
this. I tell you, we wanted to get away. Now, true that this is a true story. You have to listen
Yeah,
to me. I got more remembering things than you have. We wanted to get away from Dolby.
Because
He
of
was
only
sick
you.
of it, and also Jack French hadn't treated him well.
Yeah.
Because he was supposed to be foreman and he didn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was another story. So Dad said, "All right." We looked in the courier mail because we had the courier mail from day one there, and there were 2 jobs: one in Proserpine, one in Collinsville. So we wrote to both, and Proserpine wrote us back, "Sorry, the position is filled." So we got to Collinsville, and Collinsville was screaming for a baker.
Yeah.
So I was pregnant with Bernadette,
Yeah.
and I went to my doctor and I said, "We're leaving here." And I said, "We're going to Collinsville." And he said, "What did you pick Collinsville for?" He said, "It's full of commos. It's full of Reds." And I said, "Well, it was a fairly big
It was a very
Always strikes.
strike
Oh,
and
yes.
in the
Unions
mines.
and-
In the
yeah,
mines.
unions and
But
everything.
I said, he said, "Why did you pick Collinsville?" I said, "Well, we picked Proserpine and Collinsville because there were pretty big dots on the map." He laughed.
But that's
Because we
did
didn't
you
know
get
anything about
did
North
you
Queensland.
get the job ads down in Dolby for way up there? Did you
Yes.
get ads that far down?
in the Courier Mail you did.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
The Courier Mail was a Brisbane paper.
So
yeah,
we
but
had,
the bloke from the
all
mill
Queensland.
told me.
Yeah.
so we
yeah.
had a Pontiac with 2 doors and a big area in the back, and the kids slept in the back, and we both put them in their dressing gown because when we left it was pretty
And a
cold.
trailer behind it.
And René had Bobo, as long as he had his his bottle.
Yeah.
And Joanne and René were sleeping in the back, and we did that in 2 days. Huh? We sort of
I don't
traveled
know.
night and day. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a horrible trip because near that
The
in
Bruce
North
Highway
Queensland,
was gravel.
yeah, in North Queensland that
Not 4 lanes.
that
4 lanes of
Serena
gravel.
Range.
Yeah, Serena Range.
the
and
Serena
everything.
Range.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and all of a
You
sudden
swore
we
you'd
stopped.
never do another range.
And no, but there was a range there, and
And you
this,
had a car.
and this big truck stands there with the lights full pelt, and he's trying to go past us, and we had to sort of go like that, and I knew there was a
Big
A
drop.
drop.
drop there. Oh,
Oh,
No
no.
wonder she lost that baby when she got there.
Oh, yeah, and then you had lost her full term, didn't you, Bernadette?
yeah, it was a bit overdue, I think,
Oh,
as well.
really?
Yeah, because it was nearly £9.
Oh, and
But-
you don't know when she died?
Well, when I woke up, I said to the nurse, I heard gurgling, a
Yeah.
machine like that thing that Dad uses there. And I said, I can't hear my baby cry. And she said, I don't know, love, I just came on duty. That's the answer she gave me. I don't know, love. And then the doctor came to me and he said, we've tried everything, but she just won't breathe. So that was it.
How horrible. So that was after Renee.
Yeah.
And so how much of a gap is there between Renee and
Paul.
2 years, 2.5,
Two and a
nearly
half
3.
years, so they were pretty close in age.
Yeah.
But the most terrible thing, really spoken, the whole week I was in that hospital. There were the nurse said a lot of people are due and they're all overdue. I was by myself.
Yeah?
And all I saw was that fan.
Yeah.
And I was around like that.
Yeah, but you didn't have any other mothers in
And
there
I
with
didn't,
babies?
no, nothing.
Yeah.
But nobody came to see me because
Yeah.
Dad could hardly come, and he brought you and Renee once because Renee said, I can say hospital now, mummy, because he tried to say hospital and he said hospital.
Yeah.
And but then when I was allowed home, I think you came once. I think it must have been with, I don't know if you came with that, because when I came
Who
home,
looked after me and Renee?
Mary Hoekstra.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Yeah, and when I came home in that old house in
Stanley Street.
Stanley Street, I can still see Joanne standing there in the corner, looking at me. Mummy, she lisped when she was little. She lisped. And she said, is the baby still not ready? Because every time we went to see the doctor, she was in the car with us, and Renee couldn't talk much yet. And she'd say, what's Mummy doing there, Daddy? And he said, oh, Mummy's the doctor seeing if the baby's ready yet. And that's all he said. So when I came home,
Without the baby.
And I didn't have a baby, she couldn't understand it, because I think Mary said something to you, but you didn't
So
understand
how
it.
do you know this Mary, like...
She was a lady that was just in the church, in the Catholic church
Yeah,
there.
and they lived in Scottville.
They lived in Scottville,
And
they were
and
Dutch.
knew
And
Mum
her-
and Dad had no
and
family, and so they offered to look
They
after
were Dutch.
Renee and I.
She was Dutch, and so was Tony. Tony
Oh, they were
Hoekstra.
both Dutch?
Yes.
Both
Oh, I
Dutch.
thought only
Tony
she
Hoekstra.
was.
Tony Hoekstra.
Yeah.
So her husband was
So
Dutch
then
too.
nowadays, if you had lost a baby and then you just went home without a baby, like imagine the trauma,
Yeah.
and you just had to get on with life.
Yeah.
Like
No.
there was no PSP.
No mummy to go to.
And nobody to talk to about it. There was
No.
nothing.
No.
Nothing. He just went home.
No,
and went
bad
back
luck,
to life.
right?
Yeah.
No, I didn't say that, but
Yeah.
the only thing that lady, Mrs. where we used to pay the power bill, and I came there, and she always talked to me, and I brought you and Renee in the pram,
Yeah.
and she said, "Oh, how are you going? Did you leave Bob with Daddy?
Yeah.
You know, the new Bob."
Yeah.
And I told her, and she said, "Oh, shouldn't have said anything." She said, "I'm so embarrassed." I said, "Well, you didn't know."
No.
So, but
And
I
so-
found it pretty difficult in the beginning, because when I went on the street to the newsagent to get the courier mail at the Bushels, I always had to walk past the clinic, the baby clinic.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I used to think, I'd go on the other
other
side of the
way.
road, so I didn't
Yeah.
see it. But because I had 2 children,
You
sort
just
of
got too
get,
busy and you had to
you
keep...
get over it quicker. Or you never get over it, but I mean, you sort of get used to it.
And back then it was so different than now. Like, I mean, if you lose a baby even in the last 15 years, you get to spend time with it and hold it.
Yeah.
And,
So you didn't even get to see her?
No.
That sort. I didn't want to.
You didn't
No,
want to?
I was too upset. I said, no, I don't want to see anything. I said to Dad.
That's so sad.
Dad had a little burial.
It was all
Scottville.
different in those days, you know.
Did you have a funeral and everything? Or?
No, Dad, we had it buried.
Yeah,
at-
it was done by Jack Vermeulen, but that was the undertaker.
Yeah,
yeah.
But did you have a little casket and everything?
Yeah, little casket, yeah.
it's the same with Paul. Paul had a stillborn baby with Donna.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh. Did you like cry yourself to sleep every night, or like was it devastating, or don't you?
Yeah, well, I think I might have been thinking too much of the children I had,
Yeah.
you know, and didn't upset them.
And then you just went and then you just knew that you could have more children anyway.
Well, I didn't want any more. I gave everything away.
Oh, did you?
Yes, because we got some people, that fellow that worked in the bakery with you, his wife was expecting her first, and I said, oh, look, you can have this and you can have that, because I won't have any more children ever.
Yeah.
Because I said to Dad, I don't want any more.
Yeah.
But we didn't take any precautions or anything and say, oh, well, we'll watch out, we won't have any more. And then Paul, I was pregnant with Paul, and where were we living? When Paul was born, we had to walk to the hospital.
Yeah. Paul is born in Collinsville.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why he hates that. Because they are,
he has
all
to
the
say
kids were born in Collinsville except you and Renee. You were both born
So
in Dalby.
after Renee, you lost Bernadette, and then you weren't going to have any more, and you had 4 more.
Yeah,
3 more. No, 4.
4
more.
4 more.
yeah.
No more. No more.
No, I just said I don't want any more children, because if there was a chance that
That
happens,
happening again. Yeah.
so but it never happened. So, although Kathy was prematurely born,
She nearly
was
died. She
Yeah.
nearly died.
she
She was 6 weeks early.
and her head would fit in my hand, a little head of hers. That's how, and I have got big hands.
No.
She was so small, and then they let her home. Like, she was born in Collinsville too. It was outback, so they let her home with Mum too early.
Yeah,
And then Mum's feeding her and nursing her, and she used to just go blue and just stop breathing.
yeah.
And they'd have to race her back to the hospital, and
Because they don't have the sucking.
And then
or
she
anything.
had these, what do you call them again?
He's putting the needle in his
These
belly.
when they all go stiff, those funny turns.
like a
yeah,
seizure.
but there was a name for
like
it in those
not
days.
an epileptic fit.
No.
No.
Oh, I can't
it
think of
wasn't
the
that.
word. And that she had that, but then by the time she was 1 and a bit, she outgrew that, because Mrs. Tyndale was at the supermarket with me on the corner in Collinsville when Kathy had one of those fits again, and she went all blue, and I screamed, my baby, and she helped me. And then she later on told me, when she met me again on the street, she said, I've had a baby like that, but they grow out of it. And I thought, oh, I hope so, but she
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but she was always very small, Kathy,
Yeah.
because people used to say to her, oh, Mrs. Tooey, what do you feed your kids on? They're skinny as a rake, because Renee stayed with her when I had one of the children.
Yeah.
And
Might have
Renee,
been Kathy.
yeah, it might have been when I had Kathy, and Mrs. Tooey said, what do you feed that little boy on? He's far too small, he's far too skinny, because her kids were,
Chubby.
Meaty.
Yeah.
and I didn't say anything. I thought, well, it's none of your business, because Renee was as healthy as a little, he climbed trees, he did all sorts of things, but he was just a little fella.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same with,
Paul was little.
and Kathy, because
Kathy was-
they're Van
Kathy was
Harlem's.
like,
Because I
Aleida.
remember-
Tiny like that.
I remember the sister of Mrs. Van Harlem, Tony. She said, "Oh, gee," she said, she saw us in church, and she said, "Gee, you kids are skinny. You kids are little." Kathy, she's just a little, you know. And she said, "I think you might have to take her to the doctor and have her looked over, because she's far too thin." So I went to see a doctor, and his name was Dr. Marsden, and we got that town here, Marsden, and he gave her a once over, and he said, "I've never seen a healthier child like this one." And he said, "But she's just finely boned. Don't worry about her."
Like Shiley.
Charlie's like that.
Shiley's
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. She said, and Kathy, there was nothing wrong with her.
No.
Most people are too fat these days.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's no good.
So you had the milk run in Collinsville.
Yes, and then they wanted me to do the milk run in Bowen, the Brown family, because they owned the milk runs.
Yeah.
We were only leaseholders
Oh,
for the
true.
milk run. So I did it 4 years in Collinsville. Then they said, if you can find somebody good in Collinsville, we want you to come to Bowen and take over in Bowen because they had trouble with those
And
fenders.
no, and it was good because Joanne had to go to high school,
Yeah.
and we didn't want her to go to high school in Collinsville.
So we did it for 4 years in Bowen.
Oh, okay.
That was 8 years milk run.
Yeah.
And we bought a house in William Street.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And
yeah.
the house in William Street was owned by the hospital secretary, and he was transferred to Brisbane Hospital,
Mr. Lightbody.
Mr. Lightbody, and the house stood empty there, and it was well kept because every fortnight or so a gardener came to look after it and things like that, and it stood empty for
It's a high
18
house.
months and they couldn't sell it. And I said to Frank Sellers, that is, have you got a house for us, because we're coming to live in Bowen. And we got 6 kids, and he said, oh, I got just a house for you. So he took me to William Street, where that house was of the Lightbody, that fellow. And I said, how much does he want for it? He said, $8,000.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, oh, can't afford that. I said, I can't afford that. And he says, no, will you make him an offer? I said, yes, 6,000. I said, tell him, send him a telegram. I offered him $6,000, and I said to Frank Sellers, send him to tell him I'm prepared to buy it today, $6,000.
I remember Frank Sellers.
Yes,
Yeah.
real estate, yeah.
Yeah.
And he comes late in the afternoon, knock on the door, Frank Sellers is there. He said he has accepted
Oh.
$6,000.
So with that kind of money back then, did you have to go get a loan? Or
Yeah.
did you have it?
Oh no, I think we might have had,
A little bit, but
Yeah.
then we paid the rest off. Yeah, the bank.
because
the bank.
I
We
was
were always
just,
with the Commonwealth Bank.
And what year, do you remember what year that was?
Well,
When Mum went
Joanne,
to
you
high
were
school?
60,
I was 11, 56, 60, 67.
67. Yeah, because
It's not
Johnny
that
was
long
Johnny
ago.
was 3 months old.
So
it
it
was
might
the
have been
year Johnny.
66.
It was the year. No, Johnny's born in 67. I
Well,
think.
it's 67.
Yeah, Johnny
Yeah.
was born in February, and we went to that house in May, I think, May or June,
Yeah.
the middle of the year.
Oh, okay. So then you got the milk run in Bowen and you lived in the house in William Street.
yeah.
And then when did you do the fruit shop then?
Oh, the
Was that
William
next?
Street house was, I
Oh.
did sold the milk run.
And we
And
bought Doreen Polkenhorn
The
out,
Ideal Cake Shop.
the Ideal
They
Cake
bought
Shop.
The Ideal Cake Shop next
Yeah,
And where's that? Is that still there?
in Powell Street.
in Powell Street. Yeah, next to the council building.
there was a bakery in
The bakery
in
was-
the Powell Street up the road.
You
But
know,
the
the
shop
jewellers.
was
Shop
from the
was in
council.
the ca- was
In the
next to
council
us.
building.
The jeweler was next to us, Bill Wallace, and the council was right on the corner because the main entrance to
offices
the
of
council
the
building was in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then there was a gap where we could go in down the back to bring the stuff in the shop, and next to that was Margaret White's shoe shop.
Yeah.
And then you had
So
a
the
whole lot of
Ideal
shops.
Cake Shop, what's it called now? It's not Tony's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Tony's, yeah.
Yeah. After Dad sold the milk run, he wasn't sure what to do next, so he took a job at Burns Phillip.
Yes.
Burns Phillip was a
Wholesale.
wholesale catering
They
sort of a
sold
business.
drinks and
And-
for the islands.
everything for all the
For the islands.
because we were all still at school. Dad decided to sell the milk run.
Was that because it was really long hours and you were just
Well, you'd
sick of
had it for 4 years, and
Yeah, it's a big job.
but who bought it off you?
Alan Freeman.
Al Sleeman.
Sleeman.
But before Dad bought Doreen's Bakery, the Ideal Cake Shop, why did we live on that house at the beach?
Because I had to sell this the milk
Milk-
run, the house
The
went.
house went with it. He sold William Street House with
And
the
we
milk
hadn't
run.
decided
nowhere to
yet.
live.
And we hadn't
And
decided
decided-
to go back to Holland even.
They were thinking about going back to Holland.
Ah.
The whole family.
Yeah.
But we didn't. We changed our mind.
Yeah.
Oh, but
we
when
even got passport photos.
Oh.
We got passport photos done. I was probably 14.
yes,
Yeah, I was
but,
14.
But when we sold the bakery, when did I go to Holland by myself? Did we still have to bake it?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
But
because-
we're not there yet. We're still at.
because Jopie Stevens helped you in the bakery.
Yes.
And Johnny stayed with the Stevenses.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I came back from Holland, he stood there waiting in the yard, and he says to me, "Mommy, why were you so long?" Because he thought I was only going to go for a week or
Yeah.
so, and he had to stay at the Stevenses, and he hated it.
Yeah, because he didn't get spoiled.
Because I
there.
was away for 6 weeks.
She stayed in Holland for 6 weeks.
And it was a big Besser brick,
Yeah.
low place, cement floors, no carpet or lino or anything, just cement, and Besser bricks, and it had a kitchen and a living area.
And I had about 3 bedrooms.
And 3 bedrooms. One bedroom was massive, and it was just, you walked from here to the car, and there was a rock wall, and that was the water. It was right on the water, so we had to get used to that noise of that
the
surf.
Is it still there?
The tide.
Yeah, I think so.
It's
and
still
it
there.
had an outside toilet.
Yes. And Paul came in once.
And
Mom,
really-
there was a snake in
And
there.
there was quite a lot of land around it, so it was a little bit
Rocks.
and rocks, but we had a ball playing there, and we used to have to get the bus to school because when we lived in William Street we walked, but
so
that
you
was
went
too
to that
far.
central
So
school?
we went
Yeah.
to the Catholic school.
Oh, okay.
So we used to have to get the bus to school.
Yeah.
I went to the high school then,
Yes.
the state high school when we
Yeah.
lived there, and
So
we
did
lived,
you rent that?
Yeah, Dad rented it,
Oh.
and then they were deciding what to do with whether we go back to Holland or not.
When we bought the bakery,
Yeah.
I was thinking of
Jack Doyle was the...
but Peterson's bought our bakery.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was
And
the next
after
section.
that, she, you started work. After that, you started work at Burnsville, I thought. Or were you going on the
No.
tracks then?
No, he didn't do that after that. He did.
I bought the fruit shop.
He bought the fruit
Oh.
shop straight away then.
Yeah,
After the,
Fruit and delicatessen
Yeah,
from
but
Jack
I
Leon.
have worked for about 6 months for Peterson's in
Yeah,
the bakery
yeah, you
because
did.
she.
You did,
You
yeah.
and
did,
where
but
were
Dad
you? What
didn't.
were you doing then?
At Burnsville.
Yeah,
so
were
you
still
went
at-
back to Burns Phillip then.
I
was
went
at
to
Burnsville.
Burnsville after that.
because
But
his.
you also worked at Burns Phillip then. Where did you work
no,
when we
no,
lived at the
that,
beach
that
house?
was the same time
From
because.
the beach house, I bought a bakery.
We were only a few months at that beach
Yes,
house.
not
Yeah,
very,
yeah,
not
well,
very
not
long.
very-
So
long.
maybe you didn't work. You worked then at Burns Phillip after the
I
beach
was
house.
looking for something. Yes, I remember that.
And you might have just been doing a few things for some other people because that was when we lived at the beach house. Was between the milk run and the Ideal Cake Shop.
So when was the fruit shop?
After the Ideal
Ideal
Cake
Cake
Shop,
Shop.
because
Oh.
Yeah.
I was already married.
But I
It
remember
was
that
Jolie
I
Young
had to.
shop on the main street in Bouwen, and it was fruit and veggies and delicatessen.
Yeah.
And we sold a lot of at Easter time and things like that.
Easter eggs.
and
We had
Easter
that
eggs
glass
and-
cupboard made in the shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you bought the Ideal Cake Shop, but you lived behind the bakery.
Bakery in Powell Street.
Yeah, and when we bought the fruit shop, we lived
above
upstairs
the,
for a
above
while.
the fruit shop. You're
Above-
forgetting about Bunting Street.
Yeah.
Lived in
Yes.
Bunting Street.
When did we
With,
live?
they bought that off Lynn and Kevin. The
Yes.
double-story house.
then-
and that's where I went.
But that's-
when Kane was newborn.
But that is when we lived in Bunting Street. That's when I went to Mrs. Peterson
Yes.
for a while.
That was after the
Because she-
Ideal Cake Shop.
Yeah,
Yes.
because she couldn't handle the
Yeah, both the-
customers because she said if the farmers come in and they give me a check, she doesn't know who they are, and
Yeah.
they were very good
So
customers.
when
and
they sold the Ideal Cake Shop,
How
which
long
is
did they have the Ideal?
four years, when they sold the Ideal Cake Shop, the house and the bakery all went together, so they had nowhere to live.
Yeah.
So they bought Lynn and Kevin's house in
Well,
Bunting
Lynn,
Street.
Toilet
Kevin
brush?
got a job in down south
Kevin,
for Linny and Kevin. We're going to go back to Dalby or that area because they had to do some housing commission houses or something to build.
Possible.
yeah.
And so I said to Linny, what are you doing with the house? She said, we just lock it up.
Oh, really?
And I said, I wouldn't mind buying it because I was looking for a house. And they accepted my offer.
Because they went back to Dalby to build Carol's house because it burnt down. The one at
That's right.
the one at the farm, Carol's house burnt down.
McAllister.
Oh,
So
was
they,
that it?
Yeah, they
Right,
came
right.
back to Dalby to do that.
Yeah.
So
and,
Mum and Dad bought Bunting
Bunting
Street
Street.
off them,
Yeah.
and that's where
And I think
Just
I
after we
bought
got
that Bunting
married.
Street house for about $45,000 or something.
It was a beautiful home,
was
Bunting
beautiful.
Street. Yeah.
What number
At
Bunting
indoor
Street?
seven, five.
Five.
After you sold the Ideal Cake Shop, you
Yeah.
sold the house with it. So then you went to Bunting Street, and is that when you bought the
fruit shop.
The fruit shop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember.
But did Dad meet you at the Ideal Cake Shop with
that's
the
where I
pink
first
Lamingtons?
Yes.
eyes on
Right.
Mum at the
Peach
Ideal Cake.
cakes.
Peach
Peach
cakes.
cakes.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
round. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Peach
Joanne
cakes
made
and
them.
short dresses.
Yes.
yeah, so we had that for Dad and Mum had that for just over 4 years, because I got married when I was 19 and they sold it just as I got married.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because we
people
could
that-
come to the wedding.
Yeah.
And people that meet me and know, from Bowen and know my connection, they say, "Oh, they had the Ideal Cake Shop."
Yeah.
When they know when I say
Yeah.
your names.
Yes, yeah. So
Oh.
they don't know. Sometimes they don't know that they then bought the fruit
And
shop.
they had a daughter behind the counter and all the the council workers.
used to come and
Used
perv
to
on me.
perf on me
Perf.
Yes.
because she was an attractive lass.
And she was also a golden girl. Because the
yes.
bus used to go around
The tourist
once a week
bus.
or once a fortnight or whatever it was. And then she had this golden girl uniform and she was on the bus with the
Mike.
mic.
And had to tell people
And,
about Bowen.
they
Gee,
did
I told a lot
the
of
tour of Bowen and the beaches and
was
things.
the
And
other one, the
Joanne
other
told
girls?
the
Like a
Paula
tourist.
was one.
Oh,
yeah.
Paula van Halen
It was
was
all
one.
Did you have the
voluntary.
gold bikini on like the girls?
Oh no,
had?
no, it was a gold
had-
dress,
no,
really
no, they had a
short
whole
gold
dress.
really
A whole
short.
dress.
And you had to stand up at the front of the bus with the microphone and hang on while you wobbled around Horseshoe Bay, because the bus, you'd get round there, it was all wobbly.
Yeah.
But it was a volunteer thing, so every business in Bowen was asked to
donate a bit.
donate
A girl.
a girl,
For the-
somebody
for
that
the
was
time.
going to be positive for the town. So Paula was one. Of course, she was the best of everything. That's why she wanted to be an air hostess. And there was quite a few girls, and each time a tourist coach came and they wanted to do a tour, you were on a roster. And so then it might have been me one time, and the next time it might have been Paula, and it was the girls from the Shire Council. Was quite a few of those, because Paula worked up there.
Provided they had enough.
Attractive girls.
Yes, and then that's what you did, and it was just for an hour or two and it was hard to do because we didn't have any spare staff, whereas the council, they had a lot of staff to choose from. So then you sold that, bought the fruit shop.
No,
No,
we
not
bought
yet.
a Boca Road while we were living
At the,
upstairs.
when we sold the bakery, we bought a fruit shop. But I'm sure that we had a space in between the fruit shop and the bakery, because I worked for Mrs. Peterson.
But wasn't that
So when
Bunting
was that?
Street?
Yeah, that was when they first bought the bakery.
Yeah.
Before you bought the fruit shop.
Yeah,
So that's when Dad worked for Burns Phillip.
that's what I said.
Yeah,
He worked
yeah.
for Burnsville.
1 year I
After-
worked for
And she
Burnsville.
rang and she asked me, and I said
Yeah.
to Dad, I've had the bakery to here. And he said,
Yeah.
well, you don't have to be up early.
Yeah.
You just go there and you can just knock off whenever you feel like it.
and-
So I did it for a while.
And what we
And
did
she paid
is
me a wage.
you
Yes.
made enough money for us to live on.
Yeah, and for the kids
And
to
my
go to
wages
school.
we put away, and I said
that's
that
when we
I
went to
worked
Holland.
1 year at Burnsville,
And then
and
we
then
go
we
to
go to
Holland.
Holland for a holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
that's what he
kids?
did.
No,
No.
they just took Johnny.
So when did you buy Lynn's house? After the fruit shop?
No,
No,
after the bakery, before the fruit shop.
Oh, and that's the year that you worked for Burnsville. But
Yeah.
then did you sell Bunting Street to move into the
to the
fruit
for
shop?
the
About
Yeah.
fruit shop, and then
Fruit
from
shop.
and then Renee came home one day, and I said, I have to buy. We like to buy a house somewhere where
We
they
were
have
thinking
a bit
of
room.
going to build at that bay, Brisk
Yeah,
Bay,
Brisk
but it was
Bay.
too
Brisk
far
Bay.
away.
Yeah.
I said to Dad, we looked at length,
Yeah,
and then there was also a house going there. But I said to Dad, what are the kids going to do when they go to school? They have to go on the bus, it's so far out of town. And then Renee came home one day and he said to Dad, what's her name?
Greg Burling
Greg
is
Burling is split up
is
from his
splitting up
wife.
with his wife because she wants to join the, what do you call that?
The Seventh-day Advent. No, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Greg
Wow.
Burlings. So
Yeah.
Jackie and Shane Burlings.
I think.
Relatives.
Yeah,
or
I
something.
think
Wow.
so.
And they
And he
so
was building
and
a
he
house.
was building a house. He had all the brickwork up,
That's
and
right.
it was a
A
huge
Volker Road
place.
was
Yes.
And then I asked Kevin to come and have a look, and Kevin looked at it and he said, "Oh, we can finish it off if you buy it." And
Kevin
so that
finished
is
it
how
off.
we finished up with the 5 acres there with that big house on it.
So it's just through a divorce settlement.
And then
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
stopped building it.
Yeah, he didn't want to live
well,
there anymore.
I paid him for what he wanted for it,
Yeah.
and then we finished it off.
With Kevin and
So
And
then you
then,
had to
and
put
then
your
later
own
on we built a pool onto it.
Yeah.
And then later on we built that garage
Yeah.
onto it still.
At the front.
brick. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but we're next to the pool.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, to the side.
And then
Cool.
there was a show and Michael's Hardware, is it?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was.
Michael's Hardware?
Pilcher's Hardware.
Pilcher's.
Oh,
Pilcher's.
Michael Pilcher was his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pilcher's Hardware.
And they had a display of sheds and things like that. They were agents for, and they had this big shed at the corner from Powell Street somewhere. There was a vacant lot, and they had put this shed there
On display.
Oh, yeah.
on display. And
next
there was
to
a
the
big
corner
shed,
store
Yeah.
there.
and the
It was
thing
a
was
double
over.
shed, wasn't
Yeah.
it? A double
Yeah.
shed. You could
Yeah.
put two cars
Yeah.
beside each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big shed. Anyhow, I went to see Terry Pilcher. He was in that shop, and I said, "What are you going to do with that big shed?" And he says, "Oh, we haven't made up our minds. We have to break it down again." And I said, "That'd be a shame, wouldn't it?" I said, "I'll buy it if the price is right." And he said, "But I said, I don't want to do any work." I said, "You have to
Move it.
get a machine to pick the whole shed up
Put it on the 5 acres. And,
and
that
bring
came
it to
with-
Avoca Road and put it on my land." I said, "I'll point you out where we want it." And sure enough, I went one day, came back from work, and there's the shed standing on my
Really?
land.
next to the pool.
Next to the
No,
In-
it was a
in
bit
more or
further
less
away
in the
because we
yard,
had
in the
plenty of
yard.
room there.
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
So you were in the fruit shop, and then you sold the fruit shop and bought Avoca Road.
No, they still had the fruit shop while they had a
Avoca
Avoca
Road.
Road.
Yeah, because
then-
we used to travel from there.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then how long did you? What did you do after that? When did you get Queen's Beach Bakery?
Oh, that was the last.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yes.
how long were you in the fruit shop for?
But for 3.5 years too. 2 or
Okay.
3 years, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
Because I
longer.
said that, yeah, it might be 4. I said to Frank Sellers.
Usually it was always 4
I
years.
said to
I
Mrs.
don't know
I
why.
said to Mrs. Sellers, if ever we were so happy to, you kids were even shouting
Yeah.
when we sold the cake shop. Oh, good, they're good. Thank goodness, because they all had to get up early to help with the Lamingtons and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, and I said to Mrs. Sellers after church one day, I met her and she said, "Oh, you're glad you got out of the bakery?" I said, "Yes, if he ever buys another bakery," he said, "I'll divorce him." So when he comes home and says, "I want to buy Queens Beach Bakery," he said, "There's no cakes, it's just bread
And cream buns.
and cream buns and coffee rolls."
Yeah.
But, well, I agreed, but the thing Mrs. Sellers said, "When is the divorce coming?"
So what was there anything between the fruit shop and Queen's Beach Bakery?
No, I was already married then. What did you do? I don't think you just went.
No, we did nothing for a while.
Did
We did a bit of traveling.
Yeah.
Before
And then-
Queen's Beach? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, before we decided to buy that. We
And
had-
then and then Peter
oh,
Pini
and what
wanted
we
to sell.
also did, we went around the house and tied it up
Yes,
Yeah.
we did a lot of work there with rocks.
because there
and
was a lot of stuff in the backyard that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
rubbishy and all
Yeah.
that.
Peter Pini wanted to sell the Queens Beach Bakery, so I went to see him and I said, "I hear your bakery is for sale." "Yes," he said, and I said I wouldn't mind buying it. Anyhow, then he rang me later on and he says, "No, I've talked to my accountant and it is a bad time for us to sell because it doesn't work out very well with the tax and all that sort of thing." And he said, "We want to not sell it yet." But he said, "I'll make you an offer," he says. "You work for me for a while."
See how you like it.
No, see if you like it. He knew I was a baker by trade.
Yeah.
And so I said, "All right." And I started working for him. Now, and after 6 months, they decided, now it was the time that it worked out better for his tax reasons and things like that. And I was just getting wages there at that time.
Yeah.
And then, I bought it. And that was a big thing to do.
Yeah.
And I needed a hell of a
But,
lot of
Dad,
money because it
when
was a
you
big
worked-
price.
When you worked for Penny, you worked there till about Easter time, and as soon as you left that bakery, we hopped on the plane and went to Holland for another holiday.
Yeah, I know.
And that's when you went on holidays and you were still smoking. And
I know.
And your sister said to you, "You have to watch out because you are not working anymore now. You've sold your business and you worked for that baker for a while." And he said, "You better watch out because you'll get something if you don't stop smoking." And that's when your troubles started, when you came back. Because we were going back to Avoca
Yeah, I
Road.
gave up smoking then.
But you were going to go back to Avoca Road, and you said to me, we were in the backyard doing some work, and you said, "I don't know how I can get back to the house because I can hardly walk. I'm so tired." That's when his trouble started.
Yeah. But that was after you sold.
I sold the
After we
bakery
sold the
already.
That was after you sold. That was not in the time that he
And
was
I
doing
sold
that
it to
first bit of
milk,
work.
to Brown's Milk Supply. And they had miles of money. But you know, when we invested our money from that bakery, when we sold out, I put it in the bank. And you know what they paid you for interest? 16%.
Oh my goodness.
Percent.
And now it's what, 4?
No.
You get,
One
I get
point
about
something.
2%.
Oh my goodness.
And the Browns what bought the bakery, they paid 22% to the bank
To
for
borrow.
the money for that
Oh
bakery.
my goodness.
22%.
So the Browns bought it off you.
Yeah.
And what year was that? 89.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
near the
That was near the turn of the century.
yeah,
Yeah,
because the Berlin Wall came down in
Yeah.
When we went
'89,
to Burke, I think.
and
Yeah,
that
it
is
was,
when
we
I
went
s-
to Burke in 89.
Yeah.
Or 80, yeah, because we did 88 in Bowen.
And I sold the
87.
bakery.
Yeah, and then we went to Burke at the start of '89.
Yeah.
January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went back to Dolby first, and then for December.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
January we went out to Burke,
Yeah, yeah.
and that was the year that you sold.
Yeah.
And then you sort of stayed in Bowen for a
yeah,
while.
they stayed at
retired.
Avoca Road.
Yeah, and we bought a caravan, remember? A second-hand caravan.
They went caravanning
And
around
we
the
went to
place.
your
They
place.
came out to Gidgee. They came out to Burke and
Gidgee
saw us.
Lake,
Oh,
and we
okay.
came out to Burke,
Yeah,
because I remember the caravan standing there.
yeah.
and I went to see the Rice family with the big Patty's Bakery in
Yeah, we-
Victoria.
Oh,
in
yes.
Victoria.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they
And
did
we
a bit of travelling
And
around.
we went to Adelaide.
Yeah, they did a bit of
Beautiful
travelling
city.
around then, and then
we
Dad's.
did the Ocean Road, the great
Yeah,
And then we
Dad's.
Ocean
sold
Road.
this caravan, but we still travelled just by car.
Yeah, but you
because we-
didn't sell the caravan till you bought Bethania. You still had the caravan.
Oh
at
yes,
Bethania.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
we
we had it
sold
in the
it
front
from-
yard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So when
for a
did you
while.
move from Avoca Road to Bethania?
in '96.
Oh yeah, that was the year that I graduated and we
Yeah.
moved to Burke.
Yeah,
We'd gone back to Dolby.
we went. Yeah, and then
And
we
then we
went
moved back to
to
Burke
Burke, and so
again.
they were at Avoca Road sort of for 5-6 years.
Wasn't it? Did Kane get married in '97? Because
99.
99, because Dad wanted.
98.
Was it?
98, because Mariah's born 99.
9, that's right.
Well, in '98, Dad had his open heart in '96, but in '98 he still had a bit of trouble because we wanted to go to America to
Yeah.
that wedding, but the doctor said it mightn't be good for you to change of climate because it was
Too
cold
cold.
in
So
in,
cold.
yeah,
Because it was
yeah.
snowing.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
yeah.
why Dad decided not to.
Yeah,
And then you didn't have such bad weather
no,
after
we
all.
had really good weather.
You could
But
have done
the
it.
year that you went from Avoca Road to Bethania was that? Did you say 96?
96, I bought a house
Yes,
in
that's what I
Bethania.
thought. Yeah. So
And
you
then you moved from Bethania in 2003.
3.
That's right. Because
Came
you built
here.
this.
I
'Cause
built this house in 2003.
Yeah, because I took Braden to Bethania. To
Yes.
visit
Oh,
you a
yeah.
few
Yeah,
times.
because
Yeah.
he liked to go up and down those
the
stairs
in the
on
carpet.
his bottom.
Yeah.
Because they were carpeted
It's a wonder he
stairs.
didn't just roll because he was very
No,
fat.
the way he did
He
it.
was so fat that you tasted his formula to make sure it wasn't too rich.
Oh, that's right. So he was a little fat boy.
He
that's
was a
right.
very
chubby
fat.
boy.
Yeah.
And Poppy's
And he liked that carpet on the
Yeah.
staircase.
He goes, he's too fat. Give me his formula. Let me taste it. Too fat. Babies in
they
Holland
thought-
are not that fat.
thought your mum was giving you double strength formula and they wanted to check it.
So he tasted it. And it's disgusting. It's too rich. You need to give him less.
I said, do you want to make a sumo wrestler out of him?
His little thighs were so chunky.